our son will be 2 in December. I haven't run for years. I was an athlete, so it wasn't really completely out of the ordinary for me to want to do something like this. And so yeah, it took 6 months. We printed out a schedule. So the first thing I learned about was commitment. My sister and I talked about running the marathon for probably a couple months before we actually registered and put our money where our mouths were, and we actually signed up. Then we had to print out a schedule and stick to it. Rain or shine, cold or, like in Maryland, 1,000% humidity, which is really hard. I had to get up really early to beat the heat, but also to start my day and get out and get my run over with before my husband went to work and before I started my day with my son. And so there are a lot of mornings where I did not want to wake up early at all. I did not want to run. Even like the day before a run, I would just tell my husband, I just don't feel like running. I don't feel like it. I'm tired, But I made that commitment. I registered. I knew I wanted to run the marathon, and so I was very regimented in running my mileage, and that parallels our life as believers, right? We make a commitment initially. God chooses us, but we make that commitment with our lives, and then what it looks like after that, it's sort of unexpected in a way, right? You don't really know what you're getting into, and then and things get hard, but you still have to persevere. Which is the next thing I learned was perseverance. The whole summer I experienced a season of spiritual dryness. I didn't really feel reading my Bible. I wasn't feeling church. I wasn't feeling deep group, and I just felt flat and dry spiritually. I knew I was still a believer. I wasn't running away. I knew I wasn't condemned, but it was hard. I wasn't feeling like gushy with God, and it wasn't like, oh yeah, my quiet times and reading my Bible and all this stuff. But I knew that I couldn't isolate myself. I had to keep coming. I had to keep coming to church, keep coming to D group, and I learned that I had to force myself and commit to reading my Bible every day. Even if I wasn't feeling it, even though the words weren't like making me cry or the words weren't jumping out at me, I just had to do it and get with God. And it was the same with running. I wasn't always feeling it. It was hard, but I knew I had to do it because my goal was to get to that finish line. And that's our goal as believers, right? Our goal is to get to God, whatever means possible. And saying this now is convicting, whether that is you have to get up early to kind of beat everyone waking up so you can just have that time that's quiet. I'm guilty because I don't even do that still after all this, but so yeah. Obviously, there are obstacles, there are hills, there are potholes, and there's suffering involved. There's blisters, there's chafing. I didn't even know certain places could chafe until I ran, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have scabs on my body. Like, where did this even come from? There's muscle cramps, stomach cramps, and then there's other people kind of feeding into what you're doing. There's people you pass on your runs that, in my case, there's some people that are really supportive and they're like, yeah, you go girl. And then I had one woman who was really mean, and she called me a failure, and she called me fat. While I was running with my son. So you're gonna have people that are not supportive. I'm sure as believers you have family members, maybe friends, people that are just not supportive. Like, why is your life so different? You know, why are you doing that or not doing that? But you have to persevere because you have to think of that end goal. Like, you have to think of that finish line of being with Jesus and nothing else mattering, you know. I actually have video of me crossing the finish line, which is pretty awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and play the first video. The guy screaming is my sister's fiance.
America! Woo! America!
Yeah. So that was, and then I was screaming at the end because it was finally over. And after 5 hours of running, my sister was like, "How did you even have energy to do that?" Like it was to the point where at the end of the marathon, people, you know, are cheering you on, saying good job, and like you can't even like look at them and like nod and say like thank you. You know, in the beginning, you're like, but you know, doing that thing, and at the end, you're like, I hate everyone. This is awful. Don't even look at me, you know. So she was blown away that I even had energy to scream the way I did. Her friend had her iPhone on her, so she was right next to me with this next video. Just to warn you, it sort of sounds like I'm being murdered. It's pretty intense, but I promise you, it is a scream of just joy and relief that this 5-hour trek is over. It's super short, so. That I have that video. My sister almost like deleted it and didn't send it to me. I said, no, it's so valuable. Anyway. But I can, you know, after seeing those, I can only imagine, like, what is it going to be like when we finally meet Jesus? Like, you run, for me, I ran for 5 hours. Some of you don't even work that long. Like, that's a long time. You know, so to see the finish line, like I just couldn't help it. My hands were up, and everything in me just screamed, and I was, oh my gosh, that was one of the best feelings ever. And you know, what can it be like when we finally meet Jesus after these long courses that we run of life, right? Some are longer than others, some have a lot more hills, some have, you know, bumps and potholes, and others are more smooth, but we're all running this race of life, and we're gonna get there, you know, we're gonna get to Jesus. So we have to be, I learned to be constantly mindful of that finish line. What is my goal? What am I getting to? You know, and that's the way we should be with our walks. What is our goal? Jesus is our goal. So yeah, everyone should run a marathon. But I do encourage you to train for something physically, because you learn so much when you willingly take on suffering like that. Like fasting this past Wednesday. How many of you all were struggling? Right? Yes, hello. Like, this is hard. I'd rather run a marathon. I can't do this, you know? So yeah, I would definitely encourage you to train for something, even like a 5K or whatever. It's good to be in that discipline and learn, and especially learn about God. So thanks for listening.